Oh, hello, Natalie.
Everyone. No, you're
Hello, world.
I don't
It's
even know.
me.
I don't even know who that is. Who's your finger puppet friend?
It's supposed. Okay, so funny story. According to the tag, this lady is supposed to be
Rosa Parks?
Rosa Parks.
I was right. It looks identical.
This looks nothing. This looks nothing like Rosa Parks. And if you notice, her nose is very far to the side.
Oh my gosh.
So there you go.
Yikes. Well, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone. This is Graceful Joy, the live art
Yes.
experiment for May. So thank you for joining us.
Yep, we took April off because we needed a little bit of a recharge, and as such, we thought it would be a good idea to do one on that, on giving yourself grace and whatnot. So, Graceful Joy is our theme for this month. How have you been in the time off from the art experiment, Natalie?
It doesn't really feel like time off, honestly. I feel like we just keep moving forward. Dream Chicago is dreaming of all sorts of summer things, and the idea of pop-ups are exciting and something that we could plan finally. So we've got a good word project coming up for Dream Chicago where we'll be sharing good words and popping up outside live. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with everyone. Um, and it's summertime in Chicago, so
I mean, it feels like fall today, but yeah, but
definitely.
totally.
I see what you just did. The background looks very fall too, but
Mm-hmm.
we're approaching summer and we're dreaming of new and exciting ways to pop up in places. So definitely hasn't been a pause, but yeah, a little bit of grace in the lens of live art experiment. So
Absolutely. So for those that are watching, this might be your first experience with a live art experiment. I'll just quickly explain what it is. So we come up with a theme. In this case, as we said, Graceful Joy. We bring a few artists together from various disciplines to give them the theme. They have not met each other before. They've never collaborated before. And we give them the theme, and they create art at the same time in virtual space, and hopefully their art influences each other. It'll meld and change and transform, and we just kind of watch it for about 10 minutes or so, and then we have a conversation about the experience and about the theme. So hopefully we have a wonderful time. And regardless of whether the time is wonderful or not, that's the experiment, right? We see what happens, and then we unpack it together. So yeah, I can't wait. Natalie has assembled some pretty incredible artists today to join us. Natalie, why don't you give us some introductions?
Some introductions. Okay, so we've got a musical duo today, two musicians on one screen, Jody Walker and Jim Benstein. Hey
Baston.
guys!
Hi.
Look at that Starry Night behind you. Lovely. They're playing guitar and piano today. And they do some work with Nature 120. Is that what
Yep.
Nature 120.
Yeah. So with local here in Oak Park, with families and organizations. So you're all about collaborating musically. So I'm really happy to have you guys here. I've actually only watched you on live stream music. I don't know if I've ever met you guys in person. So
I don't think we have. I think that's going to have to be coming soon.
Definitely coming soon. But I'm happy you're here with us today. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Okay, and we also have Sam Brown. She's here. She's from Deeply Rooted, which is only. Oh, there you are. Hey, Sam. How you doing today?
Good.
Welcome,
How are you?
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really happy to have you guys, or happy you're here. With Deeply Rooted, can you remind me what your position is exactly? I know you don't.
Yeah, I'm
always-
actually not an artist with Deeply Rooted. I'm an administrator. So I
Yeah.
work as the dance education manager, executive assistant, and project manager for the new space we're trying to build on the south side. But in a previous life, I was a dancer. I still dance, and I also play the trumpet, but I'm not playing trumpet today.
Oh, I didn't know that about you.
The
Yeah.
trumpet. Lou Bega would love to hang out with you. We're listening to the song Mambo Number 5.
Right.
Throughout that song, he ran and goes, the trumpet.
Right.
And then the trumpet goes, "Brrr." Sorry.
Right.
I digress.
That's how that goes. Maybe you should come on for another show and play the trumpet. But today you're
Yes.
dancing with us, and I'm so grateful for that. So we'll be starting shortly, but we have one more artist that is behind backstage here. This is Miles Harris. He's also a dancer, but he is going to be a visual artist today. Hey, Miles. Look at that smile. You ready for this? He's like,
Oh,
yeah.
we can't hear you, Miles.
Oh, you're muted.
You might need to change your mic source. If you click on cam mic, you should be able to change your mic source. It might be trying to go through your headphones, would be my guess.
So Miles, I met with at Maywood Fine Arts. He's a dancer there, and Sam actually said she recognized his name because there's some collaboration with Maywood Fine Arts and Deeply Rooted, which is really cool. But again, they didn't know that each other was on the show today. And although he's a gifted dancer, he's going to be doing some visual arts, which I've seen some of these ink drawings, and they're phenomenal. So I'm really excited to see what comes up today around the theme of Graceful Joy, the sounds of Jim and Jody, and the movement of Sam, and what that brings up in him. So,
yeah, Miles, why don't you give us a talk and let's see if we can hear you now. No, still can't hear you. Go ahead and unplug the mic. That's fine. Unplug the headphones.
those headphones that we just told you to go get.
Yeah, it's all right. These things happen. There, now we can hear you.
You can hear me now? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
I didn't know what to do.
It's okay. No worries. Don't worry about it. So yeah, thank you for joining us, Miles.
Yeah.
Having
Thank
All
you
right.
everyone for starting. So we're gonna get started on the art portion, and not waste any more time. Let's get right to it. So Maui and I are gonna go backstage and watch this unfold like everyone else. It's gonna be about 10-15 minutes. There's no cap. It's kind of when you guys feel like it's fading out and you're kind of done arting. We'll take the cue from the musicians as you guys kind of fade out. Sam will obviously stop moving, and Miles is actually welcome to do his drawing throughout the whole show, even into the discussion time, because I know it takes a little bit more than 10 minutes usually to draw. I'm a visual artist too, so I understand from that lens. So you'll get the whole time to draw as we're talking too. So are you guys ready, Jody and Jim?
Sure are.
Okay, so Molly and I are gonna hop out. You guys start playing, and as soon as Jody and Jim start playing, sing up. Whenever you're ready, start moving. This is all improv, of course. Nothing scripted, everyone. So we're just going with it.
All righty.
And
Break
Miles-
legs, everybody.
Yep.
Oops. Wrong one. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm gonna pause everybody real quick because Jody, I think your mic might be too hot because we're getting a bit of distortion, so you might want to bring it back down to the level we were at before. Sorry, I should have checked it after we turned it up.
No worries at all. Let me see if I can get
Just
that
want to make
going
sure
for
people
us.
hear your beautiful
Oops.
your beautiful tones. So
All right, let's see how this is.
All right. Thank
Natalie
you so
can
much.
also see that I'm wearing joyful pants, you guys. They're polar bears. Graceful, joyful. Here we go.
I love it. All right, here we go.
You could turn, you could turn to dust under the joy of a laughing child's shoe. Mesmerized, mesmerized by the weak heart of all carelessness one holding ring. You could turn, you could have turned to dust under the cold mesmerized, mesmerized by the shock and the dread. Hear the drops eyes. Oh, you could have turned, you could have turned to dust under the weight of your bitter resignation. Mesmerized, mesmerized by the threads from a dusty tale strung out long ago. You shall turn to dust behind the shield of my love, in the light of my eyes, and I will plant a little bit of your dust with the seeds from a new. And you will grow and wait for me, and then we shall turn, we shall turn dust under the joy of a laughing child's shoe. Mesmerized, mesmerized by the clouds as they roll by. Our vision of eternity. Ooh, ooh, Hey, bug, little love bug, your smile sends me spinning. Hey, bug, little love bug, till we go back to to the beginning. How can you know where my heart goes in the flash of your beauty? Hey, bug, go there with me. Hey, bug, little love bug, we can both be a handful. Hey, bug, little love bug, when I rage you retreat. I know your story, I know your pain, and I know how to hold it. Hey, bug, go there with me. Hey, bug, little love bug, your smile sends me spinning. Hey, bug, little love bug, when we go back to the beginning. How can you know where my heart goes in the flash of your beauty? Hey, bug, go live with me. see you, and I say okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I see you. I see. I see you. You see me, I know you do. You see me, I let you. It's okay, never last forever. It's okay. See me, and I will see you. I will see you. I will see you. I will see you. You will see me. You will see me. I will let you see me. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Take a break. Take a break. Take time. Take the time. The time that you need. Take a break. Take a break. Take the time. Take the time that you need.
That was so relaxing. Thank you. I was like, I don't want to interrupt them. I feel like I could listen to this for a long, long time. But
So unfortunately, Jody, as soon as you got started again, the issues came up again. But we were like, it's an experiment, so we're just gonna roll with it. And it actually, I thought, worked very interestingly, because there were tech issues, and you were just in this state of joy. It had no idea, which was very interesting. And then Sam had to like dance through it and just find joy in it. So I found that actually like strangely appropriate for this experiment, because like even through like the static we could hear your voice like break through. And then for some reason, the second I brought Natalie on, because she was going to come on to like, you say, okay, let's wind it down, and all of a sudden it just broke through and the static lifted in the last like 30 seconds to a minute there, just lifted, and all of a sudden it was just crystal clear.
And I had my timer, and then it turned off, so I had no idea. I was like,
it was weird, like how everything, like the fog just kind of lifted at the end as Natalie came in. It was just like, no, let's just like sit in the moment a little bit longer. I don't know. It was really, really interesting. And that's the cool thing about the experiment, having like zero expectations and seeing what happens, and like environment is part of it, and like things that we can't control are part of it. I find it very, very fascinating. So I want to thank all of you for participating.
Yeah.
Natalie, why don't you go ahead and kick us off into the conversation?
Yeah. So I really like that Maui shared that part, because we never know what to expect. I feel like I've definitely worked through some stage fright by co-hosting this show, because it's kind of like, I want everything planned out, and you can't do that on an experiment. But it's even more so true when the theme is graceful joy. So we're really just giving ourselves grace, giving the audience that's watching grace, and just letting it unfold. But I'd be curious to anyone who wants to answer that, maybe Miles or Sam, actually, like, were you guys affected by the sound? Did you guys hear the static at all? You definitely heard the static? Okay. Sam's nodding. You guys are both muted right now, just by the way. But if you wanted to share
go ahead and unmute yourselves
about your experience, I would love to hear from your perspective how that was for you.
I'll go. Even though there was static, her voice really broke through really well. So I'm glad of that, because that was a really pretty song. I could just tell despite the static. So thank you for playing that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for drawing. So we had no idea. We did not experience any static whatsoever on this. So.
But still, despite that, it was still relaxing. That kind of surprised me. It was still relaxing.
Yeah.
I also surprised myself how calm I got, how quickly I calmed myself down, because I was a little nervous. I would say that I kind of, in a way, was preparing for a performance, but it's not so much a performance, more so a space where we can do what we love to do. Yes. Yeah.
That's beautiful, Miles. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. That also calmed me down too. I'm with you on that. What were you gonna say, Sam?
Well, thank you, Miles, for going first and sharing all that. I can definitely echo all those sentiments, and I'm definitely in alignment, and that everything you said resonates with me. It was really meditative for me. I mean, just thinking about graceful joy, like, Natalie had asked me to do this, I think, a couple of months ago, and I wasn't available. But then you reached out recently again, and I was like, but I promised myself that this year, 2021, would be a year of risk taking for me, because like you, I'm very much a person that likes everything planned out. I like to know what's coming at me and when it's coming at me. So this idea of graceful joy and just embracing the the unknown and what may happen when things may not go according to plan is really exciting for me in this new journey I'm walking for myself with risk taking. So even with the static, like Miles said, the lyrics, Jody, were coming through, even with the little bit of the static with, not feeling every single chord hitting on a beat or something, because as a dancer sometimes you want to hit the beat, you want to be with the music, you want to be in tune with the musician. So at the very beginning I was like, oh, am I like gonna look like I'm in sync with them? Or then I finally was just like, it's not the point. And I kind of just let go of any and all expectation of that, and was really just hearing your words, and that was speaking a lot to me. And I kind of was just in a very improvisational space and was able to like really settle into that because of what the lyrics were communicating to me. So thank you for that, and thank you all for cultivating the space together. It was awesome.
I have a question, Jody. Would you mind just saying some of those words again, like just like singing it a cappella, so we can get the full intention? Seriously, just stripped down with like just your voice. Like I think that would be an interesting thing to just hear in juxtaposition to what we heard during the experiment.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know if you remember what you said or like the
I mean, two of the songs that I did are songs that I wrote before this, and then towards the end I was just riffing. I just was making up stuff.
Yeah, specifically what you were doing toward the end.
Okay, what was I singing at the end? I was singing, oh my goodness. You get in the moment, right? And you're just going and going and going. I'm trying to think. I was singing, and you guys don't want to hear this again, if this is what was making the noise. I was singing, it's all right. I think I was
like,
saying,
it's all right.
hey, you can be you, I can be me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just singing that over and over again. And it's okay. Nothing is forever. Nothing lasts forever, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm. And what was and so you said that last part was just kind of just came to you. So like, what space did that come from?
I think it came from like, I started off like, okay, well, let me do some. I thought, I started off, okay, I'm going to do some chords, and then I'm going to see what songs I already know that come within those chords. And then as the time was continuing to go, it was sort of a letting go into the more improvisational space and not having it be so planned. And I guess, I don't know, Jim and I, just some of our conversations today, we're working through, as you do in relationships, bumps here and there, that it's like, you're all right. I see you. That's what the lyrics were. I see you. You see me. I'm letting you see me. And it's all right. It's just, it's not permanent. The bumps are never permanent.
I love that. Natalie, what you got?
Yeah, I was just thinking of how Miles said that was soothing, and it was also soothing to me. We were all kind of a little bit nervous. I mean, this show, you never know what to expect. Like we were saying, like Sam and I are planners, and so just you reassuring yourself was reassuring the rest of us, which is really beautiful. So we keep hitting on this joyful or graceful joy, which actually was not a phrase I've said before this. It was actually just a hybrid because I was thinking the theme should be grace for us skipping a month. And Maui was thinking of joy and happiness, bliss. And we mashed them together, and that's how graceful joy became a thing. But I'd be interested to know if anything came to mind when I invited each of you onto the show and was like, and by the way, we're meditating on this theme. That's not really a common phrase or word that you hear. So was there anything that came to mind? What was graceful joy to you?
Yeah, yeah. So I heard it. I started thinking real. Um, for a while, I thought for a while about it because I really wanted to. Because I think about grace a lot, actually, regardless, and it's not something that I'm good at describing, like as a definition, but it's definitely something we can all feel.
Mhm.
There are moments where I feel like it was a moment of grace, and that's actually kind of my drawing. Let me show you.
Here, I'll give you a single real quick.
Oh,
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, there's a story behind this one, and it was basically a moment where I felt like I had a moment of grace because it was a couple of weeks ago. I was having a really bad day. We all have those rough days, and I decided to go outside. And so when I went outside, I saw these two birds, and there was a bigger bird feeding a smaller bird that was following him. And I just thought that that was the cutest thing. And I had never seen that before. And I think it's common, but I've just never seen it. So you can imagine the delight. So I just thought that it brought a real big smile on my face. And I was like, I just felt grace in that moment. Um, I might be looking too deep into it, maybe, I don't know, but I felt like I felt grace, and I'm grateful for that moment because it's moments like those that teach me to like keep my heart open and head up. And I think we all need those moments, and if we can give those moments to each other, that's even better.
mm,
Mm.
wow, that's beautiful. Hmm.
Miles, you like my favorite person today, man. You just like filling my soul right now, brother.
That's
Like,
just beautiful. And that sketch is absolutely beautiful.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
thank you, Miss Jody. Thank you.
I felt the grace of all of you as I was realizing we're the music, and that I got nervous realizing I don't know why I thought I just didn't, you don't know what to expect. A totally improvised thing. As I was moving, I just felt like so held by the grace of all of you, not even knowing you got the static going. I just could see as I could glimpse up, I could see the beautiful dance, I could see the furious pen moving, and knowing Natalie and Maui that you guys were back there holding everything for us. Honestly, I felt the grace of that, and then just the joy of the sound of music, and with the beautiful lines made by the other two artists. I could feel it.
Mm. That's beautiful. Did you want to share anything, Sam, that came to mind? When I say
Yeah,
graceful joy, what does that look like to you?
yeah. Well, thank you, Miles and Jody, for that. Those thoughts were so beautiful. And Miles, your drawing, I love that interpretation of grace, because I've been thinking all week about giving grace to others and myself and how to balance that, you know,
Mhm.
because I think that, graceful joy, for me, when I first, read the phrase, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And like, even though it's not something that is maybe, said often, it resonated with me instantly because um, pursuing grace, right, and trying to extend empathy and understanding to others at the same time as trying to um, pursue joy, whether it's for yourself or to cultivate joy for those around you. I just loved the juxtaposition of those two ideas and those two things. So for me, the graceful joy was thinking of it in terms of how I've been wanting to give myself grace when, again, just going back to that idea, not everything will go as planned. Giving myself grace on the days I'm a little more tired, I can't get everything on the to-do list done, and I need to give myself a break, give myself time. Those lyrics, Jody, I heard towards the end when you were saying that, give yourself time, give yourself a break. That for me is grace. That for me is graceful joy, because just being able to revel in that. Okay, I can still be happy if I am not perfect, if I don't get everything done. I can be graceful with myself. I can be graceful with the people around me. So yeah, all of it. And then just thinking about the birds for me, Miles, that was just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, when you're giving someone grace in that way, like just the bigger bird kind of helping the other little bird, like that was just a beautiful representation of that. So I'm just so excited to see it and be a part of this. This is all graceful joy right here.
Mm.
I love that.
It's funny. Often when I think of words a lot, I'll like pull up the dictionary like definition to see like how it's defined. And I was looking at on Merriam-Webster. There's a ton of different definitions, right? But there's a couple that jump out at me. A disposition to or an act or instance of kindness, courtesy, or clemency. And the other one was a temporary exemption. And when we talk about like showing grace for ourselves, like saying like it's okay to fuck up, and like still holding holding yourself up, right? And doing that not just as a resignation, but doing it is like an act of joy. It's something pretty special. And then what caught my eye was way further down on this list was ease and suppleness of movement or bearing. And then the example was danced with such grace. And so then those two things combined in my mind. And I was thinking of Sam's dancing as a physical act of self-forgiveness. Right? Like it's just like a moment where like you're just like releasing all of the things inside of you that you're telling yourself like I can't, I'm not enough, things like that, and just releasing that and then seeing that while Jody is saying like it's okay to be you, it's gonna be like it's all right, these hurdles are temporary. Thinking about all that at a time in my life of like great change, like I'm in this like really like large transition in like a lot of different ways, personally and professionally, and because of that I have these huge like mood swings and emotional swings where I'm like riding super super high, and then like a minute later I'm like super depressed and I'm super low, and I'm beating myself up every time anything goes not according to plan, and not showing myself grace in those moments, and it just destroys me because I'm just so stretched thin, like parchment, like about to break apart. And so watching that kind of felt like I don't know, this one was really interesting for me because like I said, with like the tech issues, and then seeing people like still in their bliss, like all three of you were still in your bliss while it was happening.
Yes.
Some people being just blissfully unaware and just being in the zone regardless, and then some people being in the zone not even in spite of, but because of it, because they're hearing the words through all this shit, right? And they're hearing the intention through it. And that's why I said right before we started that there's no expectation here. There's no success. There's no failure. Just be like in this moment. And so like we saw that happen, and we saw like literal like grace happen in that moment. And that was just really special. So that's just something I wanted to share. It's not so much a question as much as just like a statement of like how I felt moved watching the four of you perform.
Oh. And Grace has a sense of humor, clearly, right?
Natalie, you had more questions?
Yeah. Well, ironically enough, my next question was I was curious to know if there was a time recently that you gave yourself grace because I mean, Maui and I talk a fair amount of times and I feel like both of our personalities are pretty quick to give the other person grace. Um and not even just each other, but the outside, like a third party. But it's harder for me personally to give myself grace and just even skipping April for a live art experiment was really challenging. I think Maui could attest to that. I was like, no, he's like, who are you? Like, who's like the biggest critic in this? It sounds like it's yourself.
Right. Well, my I was just saying because like you were like, oh, well, we really need to do one for April, and like we're running out of time, and we need a theme, we need this. I'm like, well, maybe it's just not meant to be this month. Like, who says it has to be every month? Who, like if it doesn't need to be, then we shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? And like we need to have grace for that. We need to be able to forgive ourselves to say like, oh no, like this is not where I'm meant to be at this moment, and that's okay. So yeah, I'm curious to hear those answers from the four of you. Mhm.
I never really that was interesting when Sam brought it up. I was like, I'm so focused all the time on finding new ways to give other people grace.
Right.
I'm always trying, like always, literally. So she said that, it was kind of like she helped me realize that, I never really thought about the ways I can give myself grace. So thank you, Sam, for that. And, yeah, that'll have to be something that I'll think about more.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember the last time I gave myself grace. Yeah.
I'm glad we're talking about it now.
Me too. Wow, this is
Deserve
such a
it.
special conversation. Like, I don't think we normalize this enough. I think we're living in a society, in a world where, especially coming out of the pandemic and things are starting to open up now, we're getting back to this like compulsive rhythm of like go, 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 and like we have to do, and productivity is, what's expected and important, and rest is not always celebrated and honored, and it's not given space. And so for me, a time I think I've given myself grace recently, um in April, mid-April, my great grandmother passed away, and she was 108 years old. So she had a beautifully long life, and I was blessed with a lot of time with her. So I'm beyond grateful. But when she transitioned, it was really hard because one, I was very very close to her growing up, and two, even though she was as old as she was, I still thought, oh, she's never going anywhere. Like, I was so used to just always, Chicago's not my home. I'm from Florida, so I was just really used to always going home, and she was the first person I went to go see, and then the pandemic hit, and she was the first person I couldn't see, because she was like the most at risk. And so, I hadn't been home the entire pandemic. And, I finally went home when I heard the news because I just couldn't see myself not being there, just to say goodbye. Um, but the week of, me being home and all of, the arrangements and all the things that come with someone passing, all the things the family has to do to settle affairs and things like that. That week I was also working remotely. That whole time I was dealing with my family, and it was really really stressful. And so when I was coming back to Chicago. While I was home, I had, the one thing I did while I was there, even though I was working, was that I went to my phone settings and I turned off the red little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notifications popping up on my email. So I turned off my email notifications. And that was like a big deal for me because like being a planner, being kind of, super anal about work and organization, it was really hard for me to shut that off. But in order for me to like grieve and process what I was feeling, I needed to do that. And now it's, over a month and a half later, and I still haven't turned my email notifications back on.
Yeah.
So for me, that is grace. It is a big deal. Now I check my email when I go click on the app or I go on my email on my computer. But I've turned off that, whenever it comes right away, I turned off that immediate urgency that I used to always have for myself. Like, okay, I got to tend to this right in this moment. I have to answer this right now. Somebody needs this right now. And so I think just my grandma's transition definitely played a role in that. But then also like seeing the effect that turning that urgency off has actually tremendously lowered my stress and my anxiety on a more general level. That has been a big, consistent practice of grace, and I plan to continue it because I feel a lot better. So, yeah, it was kind of long-winded, but
No, that's okay. No expectations, like I said.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, prioritizing self-care is so important. I feel like that's what I think of when I think of giving myself grace, is prioritizing that and getting rid of the guilt and the shame that comes along with it sometimes. Because it's like that, I feel like I tell other people, you can't pour from an empty cup. And then it's like, what about your empty cup? So I definitely hear you with that. And just, yeah, I've done that too, transitioned into just taking off the notifications so I'm not like in reactionary reflex, like I need to respond right now. So yeah, that's important. Jody or Jim, did you want to share anything?
Oh, that's just, was very moved by both of you. The idea that we kind of give grace to others, but doesn't even occur to us to give grace to ourselves. Very moved by that. And this idea that, through the tragedy and the grieving, that you were able to find your great grandmother was really able to give you this amazing gift of realizing I don't need to be at the beck and call of every ding on my phone, like a little rat in a cage, right? No. I don't know. Do you want to talk about limits?
The thought that occurred to me about grace is like to find the grace to love yourself. It's easy to, for me, it's easy for me to love others, but it's hard for me to love myself. I'm like probably the hardest on myself. And to find that grace, and I was thinking of that before when we were playing, when we were talking about it, is like the grace to be in the moment where you're not judging yourself and you're not, looking at yourself with a critical eye. You're kind of like backing away from yourself and looking at yourself. To just be in that moment. That's challenging for me. And I felt like we kind of got to that place a little bit. I started off real nervous and, and then I felt after a little while, we sort of started getting into the moment a little bit. And that's just losing yourself in the moment. To me, that's grace.
Yeah. And I think of my limits. When I think of giving grace to myself, it's not just that acknowledging my limits, but in some ways honoring them. that my limits are like my light post. They're my lamp post. They're my stars, you know. The limits are what allow me to find boundaries, allow me to bring my real self somewhere and say, for better, for worse, you know, this is my limit. This is what I can do. And I can't do more. You know, being able to honor and value my limits, that's been a new thing for me in my later 40s, and really something I think is going to be something I explore a lot in my 50s. What can my limits tell me, and how can I love them, hug them, like value them?
Yeah.
I like the word value too. Value your limits. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think after the 14 months we just had to live through, like, right, it's really tough, and we had to be so separated and so isolated. We had to live through such a really like hard time, and I think there is a real push to like, let's just get back to normal. And I really hope that people find the grace to just not, and say it's okay to stay slowed down. It's something I've been meditating on a lot. I actually just wrote an article about it in the paper about the time we've just lived through, and it made me question a lot of things. I don't know that I would have been in a place where I could have felt comfortable quitting my day job if not for the 14 months that I just lived through. And realizing that when seeing just how everything kind of fell apart when we all had to like shelter in place, and realizing all of the skills that we learned over, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we've like outsourced them to like, you know, things that we've created, and we don't have the ability to like make things with our hands and fend for ourselves and make our own food in that way that we used to be able to. And like, we're just kind of like, we're stuck in this system that gives us, you know, gives us our, what we need. We have to plug into the system that demands us to give like 2/3 of our waking life. And the system is trying to reassert itself in this moment and say, you should feel really bad and you should get back to work because you had it so easy for the last 14 months. And like, I think that that's garbage, and that we should have the grace to say, no, like, this was really hard for us. It wasn't, you know, you're a system that can, you know, that has all of the resources and you're fine. This was really hard for me. I've lost people during this pandemic, people that I loved. I've suffered, and I felt alone, and I was sad, and I really just wanted to hug people because like that's my personal love language, is just like hugging people, and I couldn't do that, you know. And I need some grace right now, and I need to be okay to slow down. And then once I started doing that, that made me question like everything about how we're forced to like live our lives, how we're forced to have relationships with each other in the way that we do. And once you start doing that, you start realizing like, oh, wow, there's so many other ways that we could be living in community with each other and doing, you know, doing life differently. And you really start to see why people take to the streets and fight and die, you know, for these causes, because we just, at the end of the day, just truly want to be able to be free for the little time that we have on this planet, you know. So there's grace in taking time to really appreciate that, and appreciate like all of you and all of your expressions of love. And like Miles, like when you speak, like it's just so soulful, and like it's like you're speaking from an ancient place. You're pulling from our ancestors, and I don't even know if you realize it, you know what I mean? You know, Jody, like we walked early this morning, and you know, as it gave me like that kind of like soul fuel I needed to get through my day. And like Sam, like your movement, you know, your inner strength, your power, and your grace, and like, you know, your reflections on your relationship with your great grandmother, right? Like that's what it's all about. Like all of you, like, and you expressed all that just like through your art. So it's really nice we get to talk about it, but like we saw all of that. We might not know what it's about, but we saw all of that expressed through your artistry, and like that's really special. So I just really want to thank all of you for being in this experiment. This is you turned into one of my favorites, like, and it's like one of our first that we had, like, you know, major tech issues, but that's what made it so special. Right. And like I know that the knee-jerk reaction, Jody and Jim, as soon as we end broadcast, you're going to try and apologize or something like that, and I don't want you to, because I want to thank you, right? Because I know, like, I can feel it. I can feel it in you, Jody, but like, don't apologize, because like it was really special. We got to have like this really amazing conversation, really informed everything, and that's the beauty of the experiment, is that there's no right, there's no wrong, there is no messing up. You can't mess up when you do this, because you succeeded just by showing up.
There's so much power in that too. Just succeeding and showing up and not having to perform for the first time in a long, you know what I mean? Like everywhere you go, whatever the capacity is, even if you're at the grocery store, there's a level of performance that you have to present yourself a certain way. So to provide a space that you really just show up as you are in this moment with whatever your thoughts and feelings are right now, I hope is a gift. I know it's been a gift for me. And I think we're spreading joy that way. You know, that's the graceful joy part. And I really think art is revolutionary. Like you guys were talking, or Maui was just sharing about these times and prioritizing self-care. And Sam was sharing about how productivity, you know, this is the world of productivity. And it's pretty radical to rest, you know? And so creating art is revolutionary, spreading joy is revolutionary. And I think sharing this time together, you know, we don't know each other before this moment, especially the artists. That was a courageous act, and we just spent an hour being a little bit revolutionary in our graceful joy. So thank you guys so much for spending this time with us. And a shout out to Rosa Parks, the finger puppet. I feel like I need to say the finger puppet for her guest appearance.
That was weird.
Very. Thank you for changing that tone a little bit.
A little bit of levity.
I can see it. I can see Rosa.
And then she like turns and she looks at me, and I look at her.
So bizarre.
But yes, thank you all so much. We're over an hour, so we'll end it there. Anything you have upcoming that you would like to plug before we log off here?
We'll be in outer space on July 15th, if anybody wants to come see the full band.
July 15th, where at?
At
Outer space in Berwyn.
Oh, outer space. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay. Sam, you got anything coming up you want to plug?
A couple of things. If any young people out there are looking for opportunities to move this summer, Deeply Rooted has a summer intensive. It is both it's hybrid, so it's both in person and virtual. There's 2 different options. DeeplyRootedDanceTheater.org is where you could learn more. And then I also work for another organization called Ailey Camp Chicago, which is affiliated with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in New York. Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater also has an arts and education program where they have camps across the United States for adolescents ages 11 to 14. It's a completely free program for youth in Chicago for 4 weeks in July. So if you know any 11 to 14-year-olds looking for something to do as well, that is another opportunity. Ailey Camp Chicago, if you just Google that, you can find us on the interwebs.
Cool. Miles, you got anything you want to plug?
I don't think so, actually.
All right. Natalie, anything you would like to plug?
just wanted to say that I'll tag everyone on social media. I always do a recap through Dream Chicago. So if people watching wanted to contact you, hopefully that's okay with the artist, but tag you in that. Also, the beautiful bird sketch that Miles did. I would love a picture of that later to feature, and people getting directed to your art page. Um, I don't have anything directly to plug for Dream Chicago. However, I did say that there's pop-ups coming up this summer, so be on the lookout on Instagram and Facebook at Dream Chicago. Also, dreamchicago.org. You're welcome to log on to get all the updates and share a dream that's on your heart. That's always a big thing at Dream Chicago. Maui, did you want to plug anything?
Why you say it like that?
Because I feel like you're gonna talk about Ella, which
Oh.
is like a collaboration piece.
Oh, sure. So you can check out on Kickstarter. Hi, I'm Ella. Every day, an Everyday with Ella book. It's the very first one. Oh, look, it's right there on the screen. Amazing.
Oh, how could
So we're currently at 16,338. Our initial goal was 6,200. That funded the first book. At 13,000, we funded the second book. With only a couple days left, our last day is Tuesday, 10:54 a.m. is when it ends on Tuesday, and we're trying to hit 20,000 to fund the third book. So please do check it out. I'm very, very proud of the book. I'm doing the cover reveal tomorrow. So people be able to see the cover of the book for the very first time. Ella is an act of graceful joy for me. She's based on the daughter that my partner and I lost in 2019. And it's just a way to share her story, even though she never got to make it here. And between her and her friends that come from all sorts of diverse backgrounds, they support and love each other. And yeah, it's going to be something really special. So if you're tuning in, you want to check it out, head to our Kickstarter. There's a lot of great options where you can pre-order the first 3 books. The first book is coming out right around the corner in July. So there you go. All right. Well, that's about it. Thank you all. I'm going to put you all backstage, and then Natalie, we'll do our quick sign off here. We did it. Another one in the book.
Yes, 111. That's a magic number.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Appearance. Yeah, that was beautiful. Again, you never know what to expect. So
You never know what to expect.
A lot of grace, and some pretty noble joy as well spread. So yeah,
absolutely.
That was great.
All right, everybody. Remember that being radical in your grace is an act of resistance. And also remember to, in all things, echo love. Bye, everybody.
Good night, guys.